out in details as we go along our demonstration. List of those which were submitted recently to the government who claimed they didn't have these people in their database. So we have the streets and the Ugandan flags there.
Okwekalakaasa okwangera street zirungi bannayuganda abawangalire bali mu kyoto bagamba nti baagala obwenkanya bannaabwe abali ewaka abaawambibwa. Waliwo bannayuganda abanoonyezebwa 18 abo be bakyategeerekiseeko nga ne gye buli eno tewali amanyiiko mayitire gaabwe, naye ate nga mwana wattu si be bokka, waliwo ne be tutamanyi. Waliwo abawambibwako abaabwe famire zaatu okugenda mu mawulire okubanja obwenkanya. Waliwo abajja bawambibwa ennaku zino nga bo kale teboogerwako nnyo, naye abakudde ejjembe abasinze okuteeka mwami Museveni ku bunkenke era 18 abaawambibwa mu biseera by'okulonda. Abantu abo tewali amanyi kituufu kibakwatako, kituufu bakyaliyo oba battibwa, kubanga ne bwe baboogerako mwami Museveni abeera bakyamuliye yeefuula atabiwulira, aleeta abantu ab'enjawulo okujja okudifendinga ekintu ekyo okutuusa byakisuulamu Nabbanja. Nabbanja n'akkiriza nti omu ku bo John Bosco Kibalama amanyi amayitire ge era bamulina. Bannayuganda ne bagamba mukuwe tandikire okulina okunoonya 17 bannaabwe ababa bakyabuze. Olwaleero bannayuganda bawangalira mu ggwanga erya Switzerland babitaddemu engatto ne bagamba nti baagala bwenkanya. Ne bannaabwe abaasibibwa nga budde buno bakyali mu makomera tebasalirwanga era nabo baweebwa eddembe lyabwe bafulume, kubanga omusango gubavunaanisa owagira Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu wali musango gw'amaanyi gulyawukusa. Bagamba nti bwe muba temweyimbudde bantu abo kitegeeza nti mubatwale mu kkooti ebasalire, tumanye nti babasalidde omusango weegulo era basibiddwa ebbanga bwe liti tukigumire nga tumanyi nti bali be tubanja basebe be basalira nga tumanyi n'emisango gyabwe gibavunaanisa. Okujjukirira Hajji Ssettu omusomi w'ebbugo bwe tutambula naye mu bintu byaffe nga bino, Hajji Ssettu abeerawo kutuusako pulogulaamu ez'enjawulo n'ezi UG. Hajji Ssettu agamba nti jangu akusomere ku lwazi tojja kuddamu kubonaabona na bizibu by'enjawulo, kubanga waliwo abanoonya emirimu okyabuzeewo okutandikira obuzeeyi. Hajji Ssettu ansa waliwo abaagala okugendako ebweru okyanoonya empapula zikyakulemesezza. Genda Hajji Ssettu akusomere ku lwazi ebyo bijja kuba biteredde. Ogenda mufuna ku ssimu eri 0703 31 39 Hajji Ssettu omusomi.
The Swiss government, our development partners in the EU, to add a voice to the voiceless Ugandans. Because back home in Uganda, you can't talk about the 10 people. There's a lot of intimidations. Even the members of parliaments cannot talk about these people. So we in Europe, we're adding a voice to the voiceless back in Uganda. Why? We know the Swiss government is having a bilateral relationship with Uganda. And with that comes a lot of powers. So we're appealing to the Swiss government to take quick actions. We know in Switzerland we have the permanent mission of Uganda to the United Nations. And for those who know, Switzerland is the home or the mecca of United Nations leading institutions here. So all these United Nations organizations or institutions have values, our core values. And one of the most important core values for what these people or these organizations live by is upholding human rights. Now, if we have a permanent mission of Uganda, which is active and dealing with the Swiss government, it has to be brought. It has to be audited. Are they living and living up to the values of the United Nations institutions they're collaborating with? That is something we really need to address. And that's something we want or we request our business development partners here in Europe, especially in Geneva or in Switzerland, where we are today, to pressure to Museveni, or the general, who's the lead, the leader now in Uganda. So, who are these 18 people? I think we're going to start one by one. And I would like my colleague here, Marie, I would like you to, one by one, start by number one. Who is number one of the 18 people? Marie, who is number one? Can you say something about the number one matrix person? So with us here, number one is John Bosco Chibalama. Yes, John Bosco Chibalama, as they're pointing to him, he's a family guy. He was abducted leading up to the elections. He's a middle-aged guy. He had 3 children when he was picked up. And his families and the loved ones have not cast an eye on him since the general elections took place. So we're still demanding his whereabouts from General Museveni. Marie, who's number two? Here we have John Damolida John. He was in his 50s. He's in the middle Genshin County. He left his son there in search with him. He was a mechanic, and he was picked up from his workplace by General Museveni's military officers. And 4 years down the line, we've not, no one has heard about it. It's nowhere to be seen in the jails and prisons of Uganda. So we're still demanding and General Museveni to account for his whereabouts. So who do we have as number three, Marie? Number three on the list of the missing or the abducted Ugandans is Godfrey Kisembo. He was a teacher by profession. He left a son and a wife, and he was abducted on the 12th of February, just 2 days before the general elections. He left 11 children. Let that sink with you. He left 11 children. Yeah. So, yeah. That poses a lot of questions which are really painful. Further is 4 years down the line, one wonders who's attending for the 11 children and how his wife and even these kids are getting by. So who do we have as number four? Number four, we have Joseph Baguma. He was 30 years when he was picked up. He was a businessman and he was abducted in December 2021. Up to now, his whereabouts are unknown. And we still have questions. General Museveni has to account, and we would like our development partners to have him audit these people. So Marie, we're still moving on. Who do we have as number five? Number five. What do we have as number five? So number five here. Number five is none other than Hassani Mobiru. It was 38 years when he was picked up. was picked up on the 20th of November 2021. We are in 2024. Yeah. No one knows his whereabouts. He left 3 kids. So we would like to know his whereabouts as Ugandans and as international or global citizens. Moving on, I think we need to move on, Marie. Who do we have there? We have Kugenda Mumaaso. He was going as an alias. He goes by the names of Museveni Bamubuzizaako. He was 30 years old. He was a businessman, and he was picked up in December. The drone. I think the cameraman can show you what is a drone. It's not one of these fancy drones you fly in the air. It's a vehicle, a 4-wheel drive, which General Museveni's security personnel bundle in forcefully, harshly into the vans, and they disappear to unknown places, or call them ungazetted places. So who knows where these people are? So you've seen the drone, you've seen General Museveni and his son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Those are the masterminds of these abductions. Let's go forward. Who are we having as number 7? Number 7 is Peter Chiriam. He was 32 years. He was a plumber. He was abducted on the 11th, on the 1st of December 2020. That was prior 2 years. It says that it was picked up while returning from work. The personnel, the vehicle I mentioned about there. So we would like to proceed to number 8. Number 8 is you that same picture. That's the photo you could see we could receive of him. He was 44 years, 19th of December 2021. This again is prior to the elections and in 2024. So he's still missing. He left 5 kids. Who knows who's spending for these kids in his absence? Marie, we would like to know who is the number 9 victim of this aggressive and gruesome abductions going on in Uganda. So Marie's showing us a gentleman with his little son there. The gentleman's name is Vincent Nalumonso. He was 31 years, was a businessman, and was also picked up prior to the general elections in 2021. On the 1st of December in 2020, he left, he has 3 kids. Yeah. There again, no one knows who fends for his family, and the son who you saw there in the picture. Number 10, we have a gentleman there, Cesar Isma. He was abducted on the 19th of November 2020. He was abducted in Machinde, a suburb in the city center of Kampala. He's still missing, as it says there. He was a businessman, and yeah, he's still missing. Let's go forward. Now here, in such, we have a young man with his real little boy. His name is Martin Lukwanigo. He was 35 years of age, was a businessman, and he was picked up on the 23rd of November 2020. He left behind 2 kids. Moving on, we have number 12 was Museveni Bamubuzizaako. He was 36 years when he was picked up. He was a businessman and he was picked up on the 18th of December 2020. Still, his whereabouts are unknown. Yes, as you can see there, we are advocating for where these people are, and General Museveni and his son Muhoozi need to come forward and tell the world as to where they are keeping these 18 Ugandans. Yeah, and moving on, we're going to go to number 15. As you can say, people are advocating for Museveni to bring back our people. We here in Switzerland, we're also advocating to have these countrymen were abducted. Unfortunately, the next gentleman is similar Dennis. So he was 30 years of age. He was a businessman. He was abducted on the 26th of December 2021. No one has knows his whereabouts as of now. He left 2 kids. Yeah. Now, moving on, we have Michael Semodu. Michael Semodu. Michael Semodu. Michael Semodu. Yes, that is Michael Semodu there. Michael Semodu was 50 years. Was a businessman. He was picked up in 2020 on the 28th of November. What are it that he was a very strong contender to some municipality pave way for a smooth landing to whoever was contesting with. Very sad, and it people back home. We've got kids, and we still don't know his whereabouts. Now, finally, the number 18 missing or abducted victim of General Museveni's work. His name is Mustafa Luwemba, was 30 years old. He was a businessman and he was abducted also prior to the 2021 general elections. He left one kid and and there in the photo. So there you go. Those are the people whether it's on the coast of Europe, whether it's Italian, whether it's Morocco, whether it's the Netherlands, whether it's here in the or there's a lot of I think when I go back 1990 power and played a big role. Good relationships with Switzerland. We have into the United Nations. Evidence, economic security, involvement of human rights. So, if we have to go by what took place in the 2021 election, and then on town, the right to be done was sought in to protect them and their property. Now we are having a problem and a crisis whereby we have people missing on account of them being so what should we do? And what would we ask of you? We've had a few discussions with other countries dealing with Uganda. One big example is the United States. And what we've been how we've been engaging them is to see that they put pressure to General Museveni. We've had some success with the US, put measures to or pressure to Museveni in terms of strict visa sanctions. Most of the big politicians, military generals have been sanctioned not to move to the states. The AGOA trade agreement, which has been ongoing for a number of years, has been cancelled on account of abuse of human rights by the government of Uganda. But we also would like to we know you have financial direct investments in Uganda. We would rather that you have a strict preconditions as to before you dispense of your engagement with General Museveni. You have to use human rights as a leverage for your direct investment in Uganda. I think that would help us well. With your further direct investment in Uganda, support of General Museveni, you not only legitimize state dictatorship, but also you further encourage the continued disappearance and the persecution of Ugandans. So once again, we want to use your support to our country or human rights as a leverage to support our country. That would be a good thing. This is yet to happen in the EU. As I said, the US is employing it and it's doing. It's a good start, and then we can see things happening. I think one vivid example is when the government of Uganda was making a plea to the US government to look over the cancellation of the Gore trade agreement. So yes, sanctions, freezing of some of the funds, or and other development engagements with Uganda will go a long way to help us to fight for the freedom of the Ugandans who are under military rule. So, Marie, would you have a word to our listeners before we go further?
Thank you, comrade, our team leader in Europe, Mr. Chitunzi. I have a word, but I prefer to to speak in Uganda. Since because of our poor governments in Africa, we have no chances to learn English. We only learn English in school. So I never have chance. My parents were so poor. First they were rich, but the corrupt government took everything away from them. And so they could not afford to sponsor our schools. So I've been learning English from the school. Hello. First of all, I'm just so sad. My heart is so bleeding. These children, these people missing, they are people's children. These people missing, their fathers. These people missing, their husbands, their brothers. So, Mr. Museveni, I have a question for you. How will you feel if Natasha got missing and you don't know anything where she will be? But will you sit or sleep in your bed comfortable without knowing where your Natasha is? Mr. Muhoz, you want to become the next Uganda president. If you want to be really a Uganda president, how do you think will people take you? While you know that these people are missing, you are so busy fighting to become a president. Who are you going to present while the people you are supposed to present they are breeding? They can't find their own ones, their loved ones. Who is going to be happy with you? Do you sit and think before you decide, oh, you want to become a Ugandan president? These mothers, these fathers, these children, they are crying. Comment? So, normally, Mr. President, nkubuuziza ziramu okubuuza. Onoomuliro otya ng'abaana bo bababuzizaawo? Abamu bali mu kkomera tebayingirangako bw'amagye, kyokka basibidde mu kkomera eri abannamagye. Abaana kati nga Olivia Lutaaya, omwana omuto, omulesezaawo obwana bwe, singa mwana wo. Onoowulira otya? Abaana b'owabuzaawo be tumanyi nti abamu wabatta. Okimanyi bulungi nti ne Prime Minister wo Nabanja yavaayo n'akonfesinga n'ayogera nti amanyi Kibalama waali. Kibalama ali ludda wa? Nabanja omusaayi gwa Kibalama guli mu ngalo zo. Omanyi wateeka Kibalama? Omanyi wateeka Kibalama? Nabanja. Parliament nga buli omu awulira. N'ogamba nti omanyi Kibalama gy'ali. Kibalama eri ludda wa? Tunuulira abaana be, oli mukazi, oli muzadde. Abaana abo singa bazzukulu bo banga baana bo, wandiwulidde otya? Okubakuza nga tomanyi kitaawe gy'ali. Faayo tuwaabuze abantu baffe. Ekirala, Museveni ta abaana baffe. Njagala nkutegeeze. Oludde ng'onjigganya ng'olowooza ojja kunsobola. Watuma ba agent bo ne bakutublocking okudemonstratinga ku Uganda Embassy. Njagala nkubuulire ebyo biweddewo. Olwaleero tuli supposed okubeera ku Uganda Embassy. Naye tutuuse leeti. N'olwekyo njagala nkubuulire eyo Uganda Embassy eyo bandi gye wateekako egenda kuvaawo. Ebyo by'olowooza buno ojja kublockinga Embassy eyo tuleme kudemonstratingirako olw'aba neighbours. Kimanye nti abantu ba Uganda be basasula abakozi b'omu Embassy omwo. Be basasula ennyumba eyo eya embassy. N'olwekyo eyo responsibility yo either leeta eddembe mu Uganda t'abantu baffe oba si ekyo nze nafayirinze dda ekeesi naye gifayirinze oyina tulina okubeera free tujja kubeerawo era tuwogane baneyimba baveeyo eyo responsibility yo ffe wewaffe eyo tulina okubanjiza abaana baffe ta abaana baffe Museveni ta abaana baffe nze gwolowooza nti ng'ogenda kukola oba bitya minisita njagala nkutegeeze wagezaako nnyo okukwata omuletu waffe kikyalumbuye yakulema kati osuubidde nti mali bw'ogenda okukwata ojje wano ontwale waggwe gasi ajja kuvuma kubanga njagala nkubuulire nina eddembe lyange okubeera mu nsi yonna gye njagala nina eddembe lyange okubanja abantu baffe lekeraawo okutta abantu baffe Mr. Museveni lekeraawo okutta abantu baffe bonna babonaabona obasiza obwobwavu buli kimu bonna abantu babyogere babimazeeyo twagala bantu baffe ky'abantu baffe abali mu makomera bajje mu makomera g'abamagye leeta abantu baffe 18 bewabuzaawo tubeetaaga lekeraawo okukidnappinga lekeraawo okwabusatinga abantu baffe tebalina musango lekeraawo Museveni lekeraawo nze kubala sisobola kulola emundu wansi ng'abantu baffe bakyali mu sitayiri eyo ekyo webibye ngenda kulwanyisa nze nja kubuulira nze ne bwe naasigala omu nja kulwanyisa ppaka nja kulwanyisa wano mu Switzerland tulina poliisi protectinga tubeera protected tubeera free democracy wali naye omusajja n'okwata ng'abantu nga balinga bakubye eki bakutiddaani buli kamu lekamu aka Uganda okamazeewo kabbi okamazeewo twagala bantu baffe Museveni twagala bantu baffe tunuulira abaana bano abalogedde mu kkomera ebbanga lino lyonna twagala bantu baffe tunuulira omwana Olivia tunuulira omwana omuto oyo bw'okiba ng'alina emyaka 2 gyokka n'omuleeterawo obwana bwe tunuulira omusajja tunuulira akaana akanyibadde kayita dadi katunuulire olowooza kawulire muli katya gonna fanja ggwe wagamba olina ki olina abantu baffe olina kibalama omusaayi gwe
dedicated foot soldier, if I have to use that word, in the Ugandan context. I'll try to properly reiterate some of the things we mentioned in our local language, Uganda. I think one of the key things she mentioned is an instance where she calls upon the Prime Minister, who at one point came up admitting that they had Johnny Bosco Chibalama in custody. And since he came out to say that they had him and they had arrested him, nothing that come out of that statement she mentioned. So she, like all of us, are demanding that Nabaja walk the talk. He mentioned that he had John Bosco Chibalama. We've not seen him in the courts of law. So, yeah, walk the talk. The other things which you mentioned is to do with the incarcerations of these of the main opposition leaders of Museveni, the North supporters. They're with no case, and they're tried and in military courts of law fictitious allegations. If you look at me, I have a beret on me. This is one there could be a reason of General Museveni's military people to pick you out. They call this beret military attire. But it's funny now. Most of our leaders, especially the politicians, including our president, Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, they don these red berets every day. Unfortunately or fortunately for them, they're not picked up. But for the normal citizens, if you happen to be in the wrong place, probably in the wrong time, you're easily picked up as a person who's really against Museveni's rule, and they can implicate you in the best way they can, plant a military position on yourself, you name it. It's a lot of things that happen there. So that's one of the things she mentioned in her deliberations. Now, then she mentioned a few things to do with the lists. A lot of people have been booked in the prisons. It's gone a few years. Until recently, came out saying that they have appointed a gender minister who is supposed to make miracles. So one wonders how in the hell a gender minister can come in 4 years down the line with the knowledge of the judicial system as it works, saying that he can make a plea to General Museveni to have these people being free. So I think what we are seeing here is the abuse of the judicial system. These people were picked 40 years down the line. They have not been charged with any case, and yet someone is being brought forward 4 years down the line, requesting for list, which